We don't yet know exactly why they did it, but the US just closed down a Chinese consulate, which in terms of diplomacy is unprecedented between the two nations. Marco Rubio, a sitting senator from Florida, just called the Chinese consulate a massive spy center. And I have a feeling that we're about to find out whether or not he was right. If he was right, this will have serious consequences for the relationship of the two superpower nations. And on the other hand, if he was wrong, that will cripple diplomacy between the two nations as well. So either way, it's not good. All of this comes on top of the two nations' tech giants being attacked in one way or the other. So in today's video, we will take a look at how all of this is connected and where all of this is going. We'll continue in 8, 7, 6. Alright, so whether you're a subscriber or watching one of my videos for the first time, thank you very much for taking the time to watch it and welcome to the channel. So it's probably not a surprise to any of you guys watching my videos that the relationship between the US and China has been taking a lot of hits lately. A lot of things are going on between the two nations right now. Some of the things are happening right out in the open, but a lot of things are happening under the radar. So some of the things that are being underreported these days is that China feels like the US is coming way too close in the South China Sea to its borders, and at the same time the US is making military defense pacts with both India and Australia and other nations right around the area of the South China Sea, giving them the legal rights to set up military platforms very close to the Chinese border. And at the same time, the US is taking huge financial losses from the theft of intellectual property of China within the borders of the US. So mix into all of that the ongoing trade war between the two nations, and you're beginning to get a pretty good picture of where things are going right now. So with all of that in mind, think about what this unprecedented move by the US means. They are shutting down a Chinese consulate. And not only are they shutting it down, they're also calling it a massive spy center. So I think it's safe to say that whether the US intelligence services were right or not in this case will have huge ramifications on the relationship of the two nations. So let's read what this Fox News article has to say about it. Marco Rubio, Chinese consulate in Houston was massive spy center. The US directed the closure of the consulate on Tuesday. Senator Marco Rubio tweeted his support Wednesday for the shuttering of a Chinese consulate in Houston, claiming that spying activity was carried out through the facility. The US directed the closure of the consulate on Tuesday. The Chinese government said Wednesday morning that they had been instructed to do so without warning, but Rubio claims the move was long overdue. So following up on that decision, Marco Rubio tweeted these two tweets. China's Houston consulate is a massive spy center. Forcing it to close down is long overdue. China's consulate in Houston is not a diplomatic facility. It is the central node of the Communist Party's vast network of spies and influence operations in the United States. Now that building must close, and the spies have 72 hours to leave or face arrests. This needed to happen. He feels so sure of this decision that he no longer calls them diplomats, he calls them outright spies. They have 72 hours to leave the country or they will face arrest. This is unprecedented between the two nations. You have to have clear evidence for you to, and obviously we don't know right now what evidence is out there. That would only be available to the intelligence community, of which Marco Rubio has access to through one of his committees in the Senate of the US Congress. So he is accusing China of having this massive spy center in the middle of the US. As of right now, the US government hasn't given any official reasons itself for actually shutting down the consulate. So this is one of those things where the only people who actually know the truth are the US and the Chinese government. But in a press conference, the Secretary of State Mike Pompeo did give a statement on the issue, and that's coming right up here.
President Trump has said enough. We're not going to allow this to continue to happen. You've seen the remarks that National Security Advisor O'Brien gave, that FBI Director Wray gave and that Attorney General Barr has given. We are setting out clear expectations for how the Chinese Communist Party is going to behave. And when they don't, we're going to take actions that protect the American people, protect our security, our national security, and also protect our economy and jobs. That's the actions that you're seeing taken by President Trump. We'll continue to engage in this.
All right, so that's a very vague answer from Mike Pompeo, and he probably feels at this point that it has to be that way. Remember that Mike Pompeo is the ex-CIA leader, so he's used to handling classified information and what to reveal and not to reveal. But you have to understand that for the US government and for sitting senators to make these statements, they have to have had clear evidence to actually take down this consulate. Now, the Chinese feel like they didn't get any kind of warning, and they probably didn't, and I think that was done on purpose. So you have these Chinese officials, these diplomats within the building, the consulate itself, and they're being caught on security cameras, torching all the documents in the facility. Clear evidence that they had no idea that this was coming and that it had to be done in a rush. So this SCMP article talks about how the Chinese potentially could retaliate. The South China Morning Post says Washington fails to give a reason for the unprecedented move, saying only it will not tolerate China's violations of our sovereignty and intimidation of our people. Beijing urges the US to immediately withdraw its wrong decision, or China will definitely take a proper and necessary response. So China is going to want to respond to all of this, and hopefully it will be in an appropriate way, as they say in this article. The problem is that there are only so many ways left that China can pressure the US. They're already engaged in tensions and near conflicts in so many ways. One of them mentioned here is to shut down the US consulate within Wuhan in China. Now, why Wuhan? Well, Wuhan is the epicenter of the coronavirus, supposedly, and the US would love to have their own consulate within Wuhan do an independent research of where the virus originated. Now, they can't do that if the Wuhan consulate is going to be shut down. Let's take a look at this. The unilateral closure of China's consulate general in Houston within a short period of time is an unprecedented escalation of its recent actions against China, ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin said. China urges the US to immediately withdraw its wrong decision, or China will definitely take a proper and necessary response. So the reason I wanted to bring this up is that a lot of things are happening between the two nations behind the scenes. This is just the next step in a series of steps that has been going on, and it's been pretty underreported in the news. So stay with me. It's about to get a little complicated, but it will give you some insights into what's going on. About a week ago, President Trump signed a presidential order declaring a national emergency when it comes to Hong Kong and how China is taking over slowly but surely the entirety of Hong Kong. What's really important here is that he essentially made it illegal to work with Huawei against the US government. Now that's very vague, and it's left that way on purpose. He said that the company Huawei is compromising national security and anyone working with them will face serious consequences. I will make another video on exactly what the presidential order is saying in detail, but in fewer words, it's trying to eradicate Chinese influence in the US. Now, right after that happened to the Chinese tech company, Twitter got cyber attacked by a huge wave of hackers. The cyber attacks shut the whole platform down, with millions of users being locked out of their accounts and having their accounts taken over. Now, nothing major really happened from the cyber attack, but just imagine for a second what they could have done with an attack like this. The news are saying that that's just a coincidence, but you have to wonder a little bit about the timing. Right after a Chinese giant tech company is being attacked by the US government, the Twitter, an American tech company, giant, is also being hacked and attacked and basically disabled. So that brings us here. With all of the ways that the US and China are poking each other, you have a sense that something more dramatic is bound to happen at some point. Now, obviously, no one's interested in war, so I don't think there's any chance of that happening. But I thought it was important to give you guys a fuller picture of what's going on right now between the two superpowers. The mainstream media really does an awful job at digging deeper on these important international issues. So if you like videos like these, please consider supporting my channel by subscribing. I would love to hear your thoughts on this issue. Are these tensions basically becoming the norm between the US and the Chinese government, or is it going somewhere this time? Comment in the comment section below and I'll make sure to respond to you. Finally, I want to say thank you to all of the new subscribers who have come to my channel in the last 2 or 3 weeks. It's grown rapidly and I'm very grateful for all of you guys checking out my channel and subscribing. It really means a lot, so I'm really excited to see you here, and I'm really excited to be doing better and better videos for you every day on the international undercovered issues. So thank you so much. The next goal is 500 subscribers and we're almost there. Well, guys, it's not really almost. It's only at 375. It's just that almost sounds better. But we'll get there in time. I promise. I promise. Okay, bye.